Well, austerity has caused so much damage for so many communities, not just in Wales, where I represent, but communities throughout the United Kingdom. And I've said that I would work with our colleagues in the SNP and any Greens that are elected in England in order to end austerity, to properly invest in our communities and to rebalance power and wealth throughout these islands. We say that far too much power and wealth has been concentrated in London and around the southeast, and people throughout these islands need more of a share of that.
It's interesting you refer to the SNP there, because your values sound similar to many of theirs, and yet in Scotland the SNP are polling incredibly well, as you'll know, about 50% at the moment roughly. Plaid Cymru not achieving that same levels of success as far as the polls are concerned. The latest one I've seen shows that you're polling around 11% in Wales. Why do you think you're not seeing the same kind of breakthrough?
We haven't had our breakthrough yet. The SNP had their breakthrough in 2007 when they first formed a minority government. They've managed to show that they can lead a government well, and they've built up trust in that government, and that support has increased from there. Plaid Cymru's time will come. I'm noticing already that the numbers of people who are responding positively to the messages that we're putting forward is growing, so I'm confident that we will see an increase in our support as time goes on. But of course the figure that you refer to is in reference to a Westminster election, and we have different elections and we poll differently depending on the election that we're talking about.
Well, yes, I was talking about a Westminster election for the SNP as well, but what then is your ambition for this election? How many MPs do you hope to achieve?
Well, we have 3 at the moment, and I've said that I'd like Plaid Cymru to have its best ever Westminster election result. The maximum number of MPs we've ever held at one time is 4. So, but there are the 3 seats that we hold, and there are another 3 seats that we've got excellent candidates in working hard. So we should increase our number of seats, hopefully.
Well, if you achieve that target, you manage to get 4 MPs. They could be crucial in helping form a new government if the polls are correct and we are in for a hung parliament. You have already ruled out doing a deal with the Tories. Why so quick to make that judgment before even their manifesto came out?
Because I'm a Democrat, and people in Wales have never given the Tories a mandate to rule over them, and I don't think that they're likely to give the Tories that mandate in this election either. So we've said
You're kind of prejudging what voters think, though, aren't you?
Well, it looks as though the voters are going to decide on a hung parliament, that neither of the 2 main parties have done enough to convince them that they deserve their trust or a mandate. But there is a strong feeling in Wales about the whole question of austerity and cuts, and the way in which the Tory-led government has driven those cuts through from an ideological perspective is something that many people in Wales find hard to accept.
Do you think, having heard their manifesto, that you could have made the wrong call on that you could perhaps work with these people? They're calling themselves today after the party of working people. We've heard about them extending the right to buy to social housing tenants, 30 hours of free childcare a week for working parents, promise that tax allowances will rise to ensure the minimum wage is tax-free. Does any of that sound appealing to you?
I'm sure that most working people will raise their eyebrows at that description of the Conservative Party. That's not where most people see the Conservative Party. They see them as a party representing the privileged. And yes, there are a number of giveaways in their manifesto, and of course they haven't explained exactly how they're going to meet their commitments in terms of the cuts in light of all these giveaways. But, you know, let's take the question of the social housing, the housing pledge that they've made today. If they went ahead and sold off the numbers of housing that the houses in social housing, then that would leave fewer housing options left for people. So that's a problem.
What about Labour? Will you do a deal with Labour? And if you will, what red lines would you lay down?
I've said that we would work with a Labour government, but not a Labour government that wanted to implement Tory policies. So the question of austerity and cuts is key.
You've heard their manifesto, though.
Well, yes, and they've made a number of commitments that we would find difficult to live with. Like, for example, we know that they are open to renewing Trident replacement, and that is something that Plaid Cymru MPs would never, ever support.
So is that a red line? That's a red line, is it, Trident?
Well, I'd prefer not to talk in terms of red lines, because when you go into...
But it's helpful for the electorate, isn't it?
Well, I think it's more helpful to talk in terms of principles and priorities, and Trident is an important priority for us, and Plaid Cymru MPs would never sign up to a deal which involved them voting for Trident replacement.
OK, well, Leanne Wood, we appreciate your time tonight. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.